The next thing to look at is how much damage weapons do against armor. To go through each possible weapon attack against each possible combination of armor, from materials to only wearing certain pieces of armor on, would be incredibly time consuming. But if you are that 1%, please let me know in the comments, and if I end up looking down and my comment section is full of people saying, "We are the 1%, I will go through and create a graph for every possible armor and weapon combination. Please subscribe or I will be homeless and forced to eat red vines, watermelon, and scrambled eggs, which are the 3 most disgusting foods in existence. Okay, bye. Before I break down the armor statistics, I have to admit that I made a couple mistakes in my last video. The first mistake I made was with the shields. I said that there was a different % likelihood that a shield would be disabled based on various reasons, but that is now incorrect. Those stats were in an earlier version of Minecraft, but they're not relevant anymore. It is now a 100% chance of the shield being disabled when hit with an axe, no matter what. The second mistake that I made was with the armor. This is where I am both incredibly upset as well as relieved, since I get to make this video anyway, which will clear up everything. In the previous video, I said that the damage reduction for each armor bar was equivalent to 2 hearts of health, and that's not correct. Each armor bar stands for 2 armor points, in the same way that a heart stands for 2 defense points. Each defense point reduces the damage by 4%, meaning that each armor bar is equal to 8% of damage reduction. This also means that a full armor bar will reduce damage by 80% from an attack. Seems simple, right? As you can expect from my incredibly creative lead-up question, no. I did a live stream where I studied the armor, which was like the stupidest idea for a stream ever. It was literally just me staring at a screen with a stupid look on my face. Once you dive deeper into the armor statistics on the Minecraft wiki, you run into this equation. Bruh. But what does this equation actually do? It makes my life absolutely awful. Man, why did you guys make me do this video? Wow. This equation says that the maximum damage reduction is 80%, which applies to both diamond and netherite armors. But if you remember from the last video, which I'm going to keep making references to, so if you haven't watched it, watch it. There, I plugged my channel. I am a professional YouTuber. I said that there was this thing called toughness, which makes diamond and netherite even stronger than normal. I don't know how late in life you can develop migraines, but I definitely started developing one when I was trying to understand what Mojang was trying to explain in these next 2 paragraphs. First off, I'm told that diamond and netherite armor reduce damage equally, but there's also toughness, which makes them reduce damage more. But then, Mojang phrases it as decreasing the defense reduction value. Why? Why? Why is the defense reduction value decreasing for stronger armor? If the defense is stronger, shouldn't it be increasing? By the way, I now have a personal vendetta against every single person who commented, "We are the 1%. I hate every single one of you on a personal level. After 12 cups of coffee-ish, I finally began to understand what was going on. So you see, the reason that the defense reduction is decreasing is because it's referring specifically to hit points, which are an attack. So it's saying that the stronger the toughness, the more protection. Why couldn't you just say it like that? I mean, come on. Insert Technoblade, bruh. To add insult to injury, the final paragraph of this section starts off with "simply put." This is not simply put. This is unsimply put. Also, I had to Google what commas and math equations meant because I totally forgot it from school. I did never actually figure out what it meant though. What? But I did eventually grasp the premise of what the equation was trying to say. The wiki page also provided me with 2 graphs that much more clearly explain what is going on. The graph on the left shows what percentage the damage inflicted is being reduced to, and the second is showing the same thing but in a direct hit before damage reduction to the hit's value and after the damage reduction. Let me elaborate. Firstly, let's briefly talk about min and max damage protection. Now, I couldn't determine whether the min and max protection numbers were arbitrary or based off of a factor I didn't know, but here's how they work. The min and max numbers show the most and the least that an armor can protect against different hits. So a full set of netherite can do 80% damage reduction at most, but a full set will never do any less than 16% damage protection. You can see that the 80% max damage reduction on the top left of the graph and the 16% on the bottom right. Now look at the numbers on the bottom of the graph. This is how much damage is being dealt to the player. In my previous video, that forced me to make this ridiculous video, I tested different weapons against different armors, and the strongest weapon is a Sharpness 5 Netherite axe with Strength 2 and a crit, which does 27 attack damage. If you look at the chart, a full set of Netherite armor would decrease this attack by roughly 60%. But take a weapon that's incredibly strong, like an End Crystal, and End Crystal deals 97 attack damage. 97. That means that a full set of Netherite will only reduce damage by 16%. 32% if all pieces have protection 4 on them, which means that you're still being dealt 33 hearts of damage. Yeah, crystals are OP. The second graph that we have is comparing hits before and after damage reduction is dealt. So a full set of Netherite armor, when hit with an attack that does 7.5 attack damage, will reduce it to where only 2 attack damage is actually received. You'll notice that there is a curve on the graph, and that indicates what we talked about with a previous graph. The more damage dealt, the less reduction there is. Also, if you look super closely at the leather line, you could see that at 10 attack damage, the line changes from being a curve to being a straight line. This is where the damage reduction hits its minimum damage reduction, reducing any hit that's 10 or more attack damage by only 5.6%, which is just the minimum value they gave to leather. Now, I am both incredibly bummed as well as relieved with this graph. See, I made a promise that I would make a graph for every possible weapon and armor combination, and this is what the graph looks like, but I didn't make this graph. You see, the reason that I didn't mention this graph in the last video was because my focus wasn't on the armor or the weapons, it was on the specific movements and combinations that Dream used to fight. All the stats about armor and weapons were simply as extra knowledge for you guys. I wanted to help explain the armor and weapons in a way that made a lot more sense in a simpler sort of way, and in doing so, I accidentally missed exactly how the armor worked. The video that you're watching now is probably the most frustrating video that I've had to study for. I've read through the armor wiki page so many times trying to understand exactly how armor worked. The specifics of the armor are so detailed and dependent on different factors, but the explanation for how it all works is so simple. Full honesty, I'm really bummed that it ended in this. I feel like I cheated you guys since I promised I would figure this all out on my own, but everything was already there, plain for me to see. I just missed it. But to finish on a high note, let me explain this chart for you guys a little more clearly. The top row shows how much the attack is doing, and the left column shows how many defense points the armor has. So, use the graph the same way that you'd use a multiplication table, divide that number that you get by 2, and that's the number of hearts dealt. You can take any combination of armor, add up the values from this chart, add any toughness values if it's diamond or netherite, and then you have your number for the left side of the chart. Take any attack and its damage, and you can find the damage done for each possible armor combination against each possible weapon attack. You can even use both graphs we looked at earlier to find this number as well. Look at that. There were 3 sources right there that did all the work for me. I am so mad right now. You guys better subscribe for this one. Seriously, I spent hours studying through these equations and dissecting each word and phrase of the explanations that were given, all just to find out that the answers I needed were already laid out in front of me. Bruh. Why? I'm gonna go make another pot of coffee and cry.